to some spoilers here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, movie opens up. We have that awesome Godzilla fight. It wasn't super blockbustery, but it was still a cool opening moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he just beats the crap out of Scylla, rips him apart, and just gets covered in guts. Now, you were saying before, like, how you had the whole motion sickness thing when they first entered Hollow Earth in the opening of the movie.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if you saw this in 4D, if you saw that scene in
Oh my
4D.
god, it'd be flying at
You,
you.
you'd be puking, and probably. And then you'd also
And
be
there's a
getting.
couple shots in this movie where it's like pretty
Yeah.
gory, but like
Yeah.
none of the blood's red, so
Yeah,
it's
it's like
not.
green goo and
It's
stuff.
not.
Yeah.
It's somewhat kid safe.
Yeah, well, it's pretty. It's kind of funny because the opening Godzilla scene and the opening Kong scene both kind of mirrored each other. Godzilla rips apart Scylla, covers himself in Scylla's
Like
blood,
yellow goop or
yellow
something.
goop, and then Kong opens up. He's getting chased in the Hollow Earth by the wart dogs. Kong has in throughout the movie we see Kong has been setting up these little booby traps. So when he does have to retreat, his enemies fall into the booby traps and they get killed that way. So sure enough, he has a full pack of wart dogs chasing him back to his cave. He leads them all the way back there. I think he's got like 3 or 4 more left on his tail. One falls into the trap and one gets by. The one that gets by, just like Godzilla destroyed Scylla, ripped them open, he rips this one open and pours the guts over his head. So the two monsters, their opening scenes end with them being covered in another monster's guts. And when the 3 remaining war dogs see that, they just peace out, and Kong just is like, alright, I'm done with my hunt now, and he drags the carcass of that war dog, and then Doug steals the other half and eats it.
Yeah.
Doug is like
That's
his dog or like the unwanted neighbor's cat.
Yeah, he's kind of just like a stray animal, and that's the only thing you see of Doug in the whole movie. He's a mean character. Um, I think he just threw them in there just for fan service. Honestly,
Doug is the Kimmy Gibbler to Kong's Bob Saget.
yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
but this is where we see Kong having some dental issues, and
Yeah.
it kind of leads to it kind of drives the plot forward because Godzilla, after his fight with Scylla, is kind of just like taking a nap. It's basically he's like a cat or a dog sleeping in like a pet bed, but it's the Roman Coliseum.
Yeah, he's made the
And
Coliseum his home.
yeah, so he's kind of just chilling, doing his own thing, sleeping. Kong comes up because he's having issues with the dental.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we cut back to Hollow Earth, and they have the base down. They have like the one base down there where they kind
They
of
have all
observe
monarch
Kong.
outposts and stuff, yeah.
And you kind of see like the footprint. You see the eye of the Scar King, and that base. You don't get to see it. It all happens off camera, but base gets demolished.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
so
yeah, as soon as Kong leaves Earth, and I don't know if it was necessarily the Scar King or one of the Scar King's apes, but back up top on Earth, Gia is in school trying to assimilate into regular civilization now. Now she's not just an Iwi girl anymore, the last survivor. And she's in class and she kind of just dazes out and goes into this dream. Is like, it looks like flower petals or something falling, like pollen falling around her. And she just ends up scribbling these triangles all over her desk. And this isn't the first time this has happened. And they're all over the place. And we see back at the base when Kong's first coming up, they're also getting that same symbol shows up on the screen as interference. So that's when Rebecca Hall's character, Dr. Andrews, we're going to call her that for now instead of Rebecca Hall,
yeah,
notices that the paper is the same as the signals that have been interfering with it. And she doesn't want to seem like a crazy person to be like, oh, my adopted daughter is having visions and drawing the same thing as the interference signal. So she goes to another crazy person to present him information, and that's where we bring in Bernie. And he's like, oh no, there's definitely something up. He's like, it's aliens. You know Bernie.
Yeah.
And Bernie at this point has been following Godzilla's trail, following Scylla this whole time, and that's when Godzilla fights Scylla. Actually, shortly after, we're telling us in a lot of order here. After Dr. Andrews is at his apartment, she's like, "Oh, I got an alert. Godzilla's about to fight in Rome." They go back. Kong comes up with his broken tooth, and they're like, "Oh God, why is he here?" Luckily, Godzilla's sleeping at that point, recovering from the fight. Because if Godzilla did sense him, there could be another Godzilla vs Kong battle go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where we see Trapper come in.
Yeah, so Dan Stevens' character, he's coming down on this giant like Harrier ship carrier thing, but it's his like vet, like mobile vet clinic, because he's a kaiju vet, and he's like checking it out. He's like, oh yeah, he's got a bad tooth. We're gonna have to do some dental work. They put Kong under. They put like a bunch of sedatives in him. And he's like rocking out. He's got like classic rock playing, blaring over the whole base. Kong's knocked out. They get what did they say this was made out of? The same metal as the Heave?
Yes, the
vehicles?
same like exterior. Yes, the same exterior metals. Yes.
So it's like probably like super duper strong, like not titanium, but like some super strong metal.
Yeah.
That this tooth's made out of. They pull his tooth. It's kind of like a comedy scene. Pops the new one back in, and he's like, oh, all done. And then you get to him talking with Dr. Andrews about the whole surgery thing, because Kong's still out. And we kind of get some backstory on his character, and it's like they used to be college sweethearts, but he's like, she's the super serious doctor, and he's like the hippie that doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
And she's like, when you said you were going to become a vet, I didn't believe you. She goes, but now that you're a Titan vet, I can totally understand like why you did it, because you picked something weird like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it didn't seem like they had a bad break. They imply that they were dating at some point, but it didn't seem like it was a bad break. It seemed like it was very mutual.
Yeah.
Like there's no like resentment between any of the characters or anything like that.
And like he's always wearing like these Hawaiian shirts too. Like, and there's a point in the movie where one of the Heave pilots calls him Ace Ventura. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that is perfect. He's basically the monster versus Ace Ventura, but a vet instead of a detective.
He just gives off this, like, every scene he's in, like, whenever he has, like his, like, big action scenes.
Yeah.
Because he has serious scenes, too, where he's, like, talking and getting, like, super deep about stuff.
Yeah, like, he's at the end of the day, he is, like, a doctor. I mean...
Yeah, he's like
he's
that.
He's not just a goofball. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, but he's, like, he's, like, that hippie, like... deep thought, like super theological type of guy. But then like whenever he has like his big action scenes, he has like this flamboyant, just over the top, just like like almost like you want to say like Star-Lord, but not like annoying.
Yeah.
Not annoying, but like that big, like over the top,
like a cockiness, but like
coming in hot type of thing.
Having a great time doing it. Yep.
Yeah, like it's just such a good character.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like when I heard he was in the movie, when Dan Stevens was in, I'm like, all right. I'm like, he's gonna be.
He's a great actor.
I mean, male lead. Everything he's been in's been great. Like I was not expecting this.
He's got such a range. This guy. I mean.
I was expecting a more serious character.
From The Strangers to Beauty and the Beast. Legion was like a just complete just mind-boggling show. Very serious, but even in there, he was fantastic. I mean, he's just got some crazy range, and like this is probably one of my favorite characters that he's played. I'd probably say it probably is my favorite character that he's played.
Yeah, it's just, it was really great, and the way he worked with Bernie.
Yes. Oh my god.
The two characters played off each other so well because they're so opposite, but then like so equally nerdy about things.
Yes.
It was just so good. Like I said, like they were like the buddy, like side character comedy relief stuff, but then like they had serious moments as well.
Yes.
I really liked it. Anyway, they end up kind of being like, okay, well, we're not getting in contact with the Hollow Earth base. Kong's up here. He's going to be going down. Well, let's just go down there. So it's just supposed to be Dr. Andrews and Trapper. But then Jaya ends up talking her into letting her go. Bernie kind of is like, hey, you told me I can get whatever I want if I help you, type of thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny that Bernie was obviously a very, very last minute addition to this trip. So he didn't get a flight suit. But they had a Jaya-sized flight suit ready to go.
Yeah, Gia had one, yeah. Well, I guess she's been down there before. I don't know, because...
Oh, yeah, I guess, we see Kong or whatever. Yeah, I guess it makes
Bernie's
sense.
got his vest with his pins all over
it. yeah. And, like, I can't remember them. But I remember, like, trying to watch them during the movie. And he had, like, some really funny ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if there's a... I wonder if they have, like a making of book. They just show the outfits and a breakdown of all his pins or something like that.
I hope we get, special features are so light these days on these DVD releases, but I really hope maybe we get like a behind the scenes, or maybe that's just part of the like the art of Godzilla Kong book or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
Maybe they have costume concept designs in there.
No, but so they go down to Hollow Earth. They want to see what's going on, and they go out down in this new Heave 2.0. They got this pilot with him who's just like oh great, I got a kid with me, and I got this conspiracy guy and this hippy dippy veterinarian with me on the ship down here.
I thought he was like a really good character.
Yeah,
like he gave me like the Jason Kelsey vibes of that like bigger guy that can handle business and type of build. We're gonna get to it later, but like his character just has like a weird turn at the end. Not at the end of the movie, but like at the end of the character. And I was just like, where did that come from? I was like, he was kind of like a bit like going back and forth with the comedy, like kind of sassy.
Yeah.
Type of guy, and then he just like loses it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they get down there, there's these flying kaiju. I forgot what they were called. They're like these.
They kind of look like the Banshees from Avatar.
Yes, that's what they kind of look like. They're like yellow and black, and they emit these electronic pulses. And they're like, "Oh, don't worry, we're not gonna be harmed by them." They camouflage the heave to like match their color now, which is a pretty cool feature that it can blend in with the other kaiju.
And it kind of has like the Orca technology in it, so they can like replicate the sounds and stuff to make it seem like they're a part of it.
Oh, I have it right here in the notes. So they're called Verisons.
Oh, okay.
They're electric flying birds.
Yeah. It was a really cool design. We see all the like a lot of like the classic. The only thing we didn't see was a skull crawler. No skull crawler in this movie.
No skull crawler. We did see the warbats. We saw the hellhawks even.
So like a lot of like the MonsterVerse kaiju we get to see in here, but we didn't get to see no skull crawlers. Hopefully we're done with those.
I don't mind them, but yeah.
Yeah,
Kong's been in Hollow Earth, so he had to have been like, we're gonna clear these MFs out of here.
Yeah. You'd hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And plus, also we saw, what's it called? Apex was collecting some of his testing subjects.
Yeah. So they go down there, they find the Monarch base, and obviously it is just destroyed. Like it's just completely all messed up. No survivors, and they're kind of trying to investigate to be like, oh, what happened? So they're like, oh, there's a security camera. So they grab the camera, they're able to get some footage off of it, and that's where you kind of see Yeah, I guess it wasn't the Scar King.
Yeah,
It had
it
to
was.
be one of his
They're
minions.
like, it's an ape. An ape did it, and
But it's not Kong because it
yeah.
clearly doesn't look like it.
So then
But that's like kind of like the one things I was confused about though, is because I felt like they insinuate that it's Scar King, and they have like the giant handprint, the giant bloody handprint on the mountain, but then like they make it seem like the Scar King wasn't able to get out of
where he was. Yeah,
where
it's
he
kind of
was.
weird. Yeah, or he just doesn't leave. He's just like, yeah, I'm just chill. They do the work.
Yeah,
They do the footwork. So, yeah, they kind of just go elsewhere. I forget where they were even going with the heave down there. I think they were looking for Kong, or just trying to like scope out to see if there's any survivors or anything anywhere else. They were trying to get signal to radio up because where they were, there was no longer any signal, so they couldn't reach the surface to say that the base had been attacked. So they're driving. They end up landing somewhere, and at this point, they're walking through the woods. And Trapper's like, you smell it? He's like, something's not right. We shouldn't go this way. I smell something. I could smell like fresh kaiju blood. He says I don't know what he smells, but he's like, it smells like something recently was just killed. And this is where the pilot takes that weird turn that you were talking about. He's like, no, we're going to keep going forward this way. This is the way we're going. This is the way to go. And they're like, no, I really don't think we should go this way. I think we should go the other way. And then he just flipping out, yelling. He's like, we're not going anywhere else. And then this big carnivorous plant just eats him.
Yeah, he got eaten by a tree.
Yeah, he got eaten by a tree. And they all yell and run away. And yeah, that's the end of the pilot.
Yeah. So his character is gone. You know, they kind of needed him because I feel like he added like a bit of like seriousness to it. Like they needed like that army controller type of guy, the operator.
Yeah, because at this point they're just two scientists, a girl, and a podcaster.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So they're going around and they see Iwi symbols. So like I think they start trying to follow those because
Gia finds like a Iwi like ruin like buried underneath some foliage.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, she's like, oh, this is my language of my people. And they're like, wow, there was civilization down there. Yeah, so they follow it through the jungle, and as they enter like this like what was it, like a cave or something, she starts seeing that white stuff that we saw in our previous vision. Like it's like almost like, you know, like a dandelion fuzz just like falling.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this.
And they're following this like irrigation system too.
Yeah, and she says she like feels it, like something's calling her too, Gia.
Yeah.
So they follow like this thing. They go up these stairs, and there's Mothra up on the wall. And they're like, all right, yeah, well, we're at this temple thing here now. And Gia just walks forward, pushes a button on the wall, and water begins flowing out and filling up this irrigation system. And Bernie's like, wow, this is incredible. He's like, this is like ancient Hollow Earth. This predates the Romans. He's like, this is irrigation systems before there was irrigation systems.
Yeah. So they're following it, and then finally they get up to like this like light wall that the water's flowing under. And
to me, when they first got to this, I thought it was a Mothra cocoon because it obviously.
So did I.
It obviously was web. It was glowing blue. I was like, holy crap! They found Mothra's egg or a cocoon or something.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be a wall. Like I thought it was because it looked just like the Mothra egg from King of the Monsters. Like you know, same type of thing. So Gia like pokes a hole through it, and then she's like going through like Ace Ventura coming out of a rhino.
Oh my god!
Like,
it's true. She just pokes a little finger hole and like looks, and she's like, oh.
Yeah. So they go through, they tear open, and it turns out that there's like a hidden Iwi kingdom inside of this like energy bubble.
Yeah, it's like an entrance to one of the Hollow Earth sublevels that have been unexplored.
Yeah. So they make their way down. They're still walking through, and then obviously, just like in Kong Skull Island, the Iwi pop out, surround them, and everyone's just like, okay, hands up, we're peaceful.
Yeah. And then they sense that Gia is an Iwi, and they take him away. And this is a little interesting bit here that the Iwi seem to have this psychic connection where none of them speak at all, but they all know exactly.
They can all psychically communicate with each other.
And even Trapper, Dr. Andrews, and Bernie, they can feel what they're thinking and everything. So they're even under the psychic influence of these Iwi.
Yeah. It makes sense because if their god is a kaiju, they can't verbally communicate with them.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the Iwi on Skull Island followed Kong, while the Iwi here follow Mothra. And that's kind of explained very early on into them being there, because there's the Iwi queen comes out, touches Jaya's head, and they have the full transfer of knowledge from one to the other. And basically Jaya is the chosen one. Oh, we were told that an Iwi from Skull Island would bring back the revival of Mothra, and you're that Iwi.
Yeah.
And there's some people online that were like, oh, there should have been a Jaya twin, and they should have been Shobijins. And I was just like, why does she need a long lost twin sister? Obviously, she's a stand-in for the Shobijin.
Yes.
You don't need it to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
She's a mute character. She's not gonna sing the Mothra song. So why do you need a twin to be there?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I can
in
kind
an
of
American movie, we're not getting the Mothra song either.
Yeah. It would have been a cool fan servicey moment. Maybe they could have done a remix on the soundtrack of it. But I thought it was a cool chosen one moment.
Yeah.
For Jaya, And I feel like it kind of would have cheapened the character if there was just another one.
Yes, absolutely. And then it wouldn't have been the chosen one. It would have been two.
Chosen two.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's the final survivor of Skull Island. And we find out that they're the ones that have been sending this signal and causing her to have these weird visions, seizures, and whatnot. It's also like an SOS warning to the surface world. And that's when we go back to Godzilla, and it turns out he's hearing these warnings, and he knows something big is coming.
Yeah.
And he continues his hunt. He goes to France and attacks a nuclear facility there, absorbs that energy, and continues the march on. Now, that happened right when they got to the Hollow Earth. That's one of the last things that Dr. Andrews hears over the radio before they lose communication with the surface world, is that Godzilla has awoken and is nearing a nuclear power station. Yeah. So he's up top starting to charge up because he's getting the warning that something big is coming. And that's when we have this super rapid explanation of the plot here.
Yeah, I think we should back up a little bit, though, because while we went heavy on the human story, we did not cover any of the
Kong story.
The Kong or the Godzilla story.
Yeah.
So
let's go where Kong was. Yeah, we did Godzilla. Let's do Kong now. You can
take so Kong kind of stumbles into this layer of the Hollow Earth. I think they call it Subterra.
Yeah, he gets back to his cave too, because he went back down with them when they went with the Hollow Earth vehicle. He went to his cave. They did their own thing instead of following him. And he senses something is off there when he gets to the cave.
Yeah.
And he just grabs his axe and jumps down to that subterranean level that is this chasm that's right outside his cave, but he never decided to explore it until today. Today was the day. It's literally you had this big corn maze next to your house your whole life.
Yeah. You never go through it.
And, you just walk by it every day, and then, one day you just get home, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and see what's up.
Yeah. So he goes down. He's on Subterra. he first comes across Suko, which is first he's like, oh my god, like
There's another ape.
he's another ape. Like he's like amazed, and Suko is kind of like bait. So he gets attacked by 3 other large apes of his species, and obviously they're like super like malnourished and like kind of like henchman-y type of looking guys, and he's just jacked out of his mind.
Yeah, Kong is just like OP, man.
So he's just kind of taking care of him. Like it's not really a huge struggle.
Yeah,
Hilarious scene where he uses Suko as like a pair of nunchucks.
Yeah, Suko's trying to fight Kong as well, and these apes have like knives and stuff. And one of them goes to fall off a cliff, and Kong like saves him, grabs him, but the ape still tries to fight him. So then Kong just like kicks him back off the ledge, kills him, kills the other one, and the third one's there watching. And he's like, you know what, I'm good, and he retreats away, and it's just Suko left. And Suko tries to Kong tries to hand Suko a knife just to be like, here, you're small, protect yourself. And Suko's like, no. And
you can see that like Suko is like very timid.
Yeah.
Like kind of like doesn't know what to think of Kong.
Yeah, he's still not trusting of Kong. And Kong's like, you're coming with me now, you're mine. Like that's like kind of like what the vibe I got. And Kong's like, all right, take me to your base is basically what's going on here.
Yeah.
So Suko starts leading him, and he intentionally leads Kong to a lake where this is where one of my favorite kaiju designs was where he fights the eel. Suko absolutely knew this eel was in the lake. He's just sipping the water and just kind of like waiting. He's like, all right, look, there he goes now. He's going in the lake. Because Suko gets to the lake and he's kind of like looking around like, oh, I don't know if I should be here. And when they get to the lake, there's like the Hell Hawks were there drinking before, but then Kong showed up and they're like, all right.
Yeah, it's a watering hole.
Yeah, it's a watering hole. So Kong's shrinking, this giant eel thing comes up and pulls Kong under, and Suko's like, all right, I got rid of this guy, I can start leaving now. So Suko takes off into the woods, and then Kong throws his axe like Kratos and just blocks Suko, and then chucks a piece of the eel.
His head.
Its head, and then Suko's like, oh, okay. And so Kong's now walking with another chunk of the eel, walking. He tries to give Suko a piece of the eel. He's like, no. So then he bites it again and then gives it to him. And then Suko bites it and he's like, oh, all right, this is pretty good. So, and I think this is like, as you said, the other apes were malnourished. I think that was Suko's first taste of meat.
Yeah, no, it seemed like, he was like, you can tell he's like abused because like that's kind of what they tried to tell a lot of story without saying anything with this, but like he like took it, like ran away, was trying to stay distant from Kong, like eating it, and then he's just seeing Kong just like chilling back, like sitting there, not a care in the world, eating his eel. So then he comes over, sits next to him, and is eating it, and it's like a lot more calmer.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like the moment where they were like, okay, like, I trust you now.
Kong like broke bread, but like broke kaiju meat instead.
Yeah.
And so Suko's like, all right, you really want to go to this place? So Kong is approaching the home of the Scar King. He crosses this giant bridge that we've been seeing in the trailers, this giant kaiju skeleton. And he gets there, he sees all these apes, and it's almost like a labor camp.
Yeah.
And most of them look.
Really explain what they're trying to accomplish.
I don't know. That's one thing that I was going to mention too.
They're just moving rocks.
They're literally just moving rocks around magma. I don't know what they're doing. Are they mining something? The only thing that I could think that they could be mining is, let's get into the Scar King's weapon here. He has a crystal that controls Shimo. So I don't know if they're looking for another type of crystal to control something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or another weapon. I don't know if that crystal is part of Shimo, because Shimo
that's what I thought it was.
Has spikes down his back. So I don't know exactly, like, when you're mining, you're usually mining for gold, like precious jewels or something. So that's the only other thing that I could think that they were possibly doing, was trying to mine for
that, or Scar King just wanted to exert his dominance, so he was like, "Hey, you guys are just gonna do hard labor.
Yeah. So
Like,
then
this
there's
is where you guys are always tired and nobody can ever fight me."
yeah, and he just has a select crew of his cronies that are like, all right to be jacked, that are fed, and it also looks like the Scar King keeps all the women for himself too. So I don't know if Zuko is potentially.
Oh yeah, I think it's heavily implied because Scar King is the only red-headed ape,
Yeah.
red-haired ape, except for Zuko, and we get a glimpse at some other kids, and
Yes.
they're all red-haired.
And the female apes are
Yeah,
all
and the female apes.
in like a cave that's overlooking this, and it's guarded by two larger apes. So, yeah.
It's very. I mean, they imply a lot of very dark things.
Yeah.
With this, that without having to say anything.
Yeah.
But Kong's there. He's like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah, he's
not
kind of
backing
just
down to the security guard. Big like Indiana Jones moment.
yeah.
I felt like with this guy just getting in his face, yelling at him, trying to be all tough.
Yeah, this guy was being a jerk to one of the apes that like kind of was working too slow, and Kong's like, "Yo, knock it off! Like, stop beating on this guy. You're stronger than him." This is one of the guardish ones that works for the Scar Kings, and the ape gets in his face, and Kong just like cold one punches this guy, knocks him out instantly. It wasn't even a fight. And that's when
one punch.
Yeah. That's when things get rattled, and the Scar King comes out to see what the hell's going on. And I couldn't figure out what the hell that pose that the Scar King was from, but it was like
Shawn Michaels.
Who?
Shawn Michaels.
Really?
That like hot stuff.
Where he like leans back. It was almost like an anime-ish
like
pose.
a gunslinger. Just like I got Shawn Michaels vibes from him, and that's kind of like this. I feel like was like the story. If you like the '90s Shawn Michaels, like that, like pretty boy.
Yeah.
Like you don't like him type of vibe from him. Not that the Scar King looks good, but like he's got the little whip. He's got the little blade at the end of it, and from all the trailers, at least from me, they make it seem like this fight Kong is gonna get destroyed. Like, that's the vibe I got from all the trailers. That's not what happens. It is very clear if Kong would have got his hands on Scar King, he would have demolished this guy.
Yeah.
But it's his fighting style, it's hard to catch him. And he's got the whip.
Yeah. He's like Eddie Gordo.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, kind of similar, really. Yeah, he kind of like danced around Kong and used his weapon.
Yeah.
And Kong wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. But Kong did get a good hit in, knocked him back, and that's when the guards stepped in.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, Scar King was like, no, I'm going to take this. And that's when the Scar King signals for them to lift this boulder and like just melts this ice thing. And Shimo's like, boom, here I am. I'm behind this ice wall here. And that's when Kong gets blasted by Shimo, and he uses the Godzilla axe to absorb most of the blast, but his right hand gets frostbitten, and that's why we need the Beast Glove, which we get to later on. It's not looking good for Kong because he's severely hurt now, and Zuko's like, all right, there's a way out right over here, and Kong guns it for there. They escape the cave, but now Scar King lets out his apes, and he's like, yo, follow him, get him, finish the job. And Kong does lead them into some traps. One of the traps works, but he gets all the way to his cave, and the final trap does not trigger because they see the tripwire, and they start to step over it. But then Zuko had also followed him back, and he pushes the boulders on the cliff over and crushes most of them, and Kong sits down in pain, and the one final one crawls out, the one surviving ape crawls out of the rubble and retreats back to the Scar King to give him the news. And that's kind of like where we get our whole breakdown of the plot from Dr. Andrews now. We've seen all this go down. She was kind of voicing over what was going on during the fight too as well. They find like this like little temple area in the city there. There's all this cave writing on the wall. And basically she breaks down the whole plot of the movie. The Scar King was imprisoned by Godzilla or Godzilla's ancestors years ago. The apes were in charge of protecting humanity. Godzilla was in charge of protecting the Earth or whatever, right? I forget what Godzilla. They were both in charge of.
The great apes protected the humans.
Yes.
Godzilla stopped kaiju from coming.
Yes.
From Hollow Earth.
Yes, he stopped the kaiju from coming from Hollow Earth. Yes, that's correct. But Scar King was the rogue ape that didn't want to protect the humans.
Wanted to take over.
And tried to take over. Was obsessed with taking over the surface of the Earth. So that's when Godzilla imprisoned him and Shimo underground.
And his whole army.
Yes, and they said Shimo is the one that caused the Ice Age. And now the Scar King has since been obsessed with going to Earth, and if he finds a way up, he will conquer it with Shimo. And the Scar King controls Shimo with pain, which is this mysterious crystal spike at the end of his whip.
Yeah, he uses it as like a dagger type of weapon. So he's got like the whip with like the dagger attached to it
But it's got some sort of psychological control of Shimo.
Yeah, like it hurts it.
It hurts it.
And his eyes are always glowing.
Yes, and it has no control of itself. It's like linked to him psychologically.
Like it has to do with
like it's like a psychic connection almost.
Yeah.
So Scar King begins his march. One of the apes follows Kong and Zuko. They somehow, I guess they sense. I don't know if Kong senses Gia or what, but they find their way to the hidden Iwi city. The Iwi open the gates, and the one ape that was tailing them sees the portal out of Hollow Earth above the city, and he's like, "Oh, the Scar King's gonna love this." So he goes back, lets the Scar King know, and Scar King begins his march to the Iwi city so that he could escape. And that's when Trapper sees the injury that Kong has. Kong passes out on his own. And Trapper's like, I got an idea. We could help him out here. That's when we get our whole montage where we see the Gypsy Danger arm. And Trapper's like, I'm going to use these enhancements to help him. They're augmentations, he calls them, to help him get better. And it basically gives him a beast glove. And his punches are now even stronger, and it begins to heal him a little. I don't know if his hand's ever going to be better. I don't know if the beast glove's a permanent thing or what, but Kong likes it. He's into it, and that's when they're like, all right, we got to send Kong up to the surface to get Godzilla's help.
Yeah, so just going on to Godzilla's story, he wakes up from the Roman Coliseum. We get to see some cool graffiti, which teases a couple things in it. And he goes to France, and then he goes over into the ocean to the layer of Tiamat, which is the largest source of power. Is a giant kaiju that is the largest source of power.
It's been absorbing the sun's energy. It's got this layer that just has all this radiation stored in it.
Yeah, so
Tiamat is the kaiju from the Godzilla Dominion graphic novel, which is a legendary comic that came out for Godzilla vs. Kong. So that's a good little extra read too if you want to read that before watching the movie. But cool sea serpent-like kaiju. Maybe we could say
a lot of spikes, like really cool looking.
It's the MonsterVerse Manda, if you want to say. Not really, but probably as close as we'll get.
So yeah, Godzilla really doing like the kiss of death a lot in this movie. So kills Tiamat, absorbs all of its energy, then it swims into Tiamat's lair, and it kind of like just like starts like hibernating, like absorbing everything that's in there, because they said it's the largest store of energy on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's when we get evolved Godzilla.
Yeah. And it's cool because, he bursts through this iceberg. It's like a total throwback to King Kong vs. Godzilla when he first appears.
Yeah.
He bursts through the iceberg. This is the big bad guy. And, he begins just breaking out. And at that point, Kong is on the surface of the world now. He's healed up. He's gone to get Godzilla's help. And, because Kong now knows that Scar King's coming, Shimo's coming. He's got a whole army behind him. and they're like, well, what are we going to do to get them to not fight? Because they're just going to kill each other. Godzilla will be pissed if he sees Kong up there. So this is where Mothra comes into play. And, Gia climbs the tower. They do this whole ceremony thing. And, like, it's like Mothra was just, like, there the whole time, like, cloaked, like, hibernating as well. They move the tower. There's this whole plot thing that
they affect gravity.
Affects gravity, so they're able to literally move entire, like, temples. Like, they're moving, like, these giant, like, 1,000-ton bricks, and it's, like, 4 guys doing it, and it's just, like, they're carrying, like, this cup. They're like, yeah, we got it. Like, so they're able to move these entire temples around the city. They're moving this giant crystal that's been, like, almost like a gong to, like, call to the surface. And, they wake up Mothra literally just in time because Kong's up there in Egypt calling out to Godzilla. And Godzilla's, like, all the way, like, super far away just yelling at him. And he just, like, jumps off a cliff and, like, swims, like, hundreds of miles within minutes in this movie. The geography didn't make a lot of sense there.
Oh, no, he just, like... Well, the way I like to think of it is that he used the Axis Mundi. Like, he just went under the water, went through one of the tunnels, popped out on the other side.
He was like, oh, I can get to this guy quick. I know a way. I know a shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
That's probably a very solid possibility there. Yep. That makes sense now that you put it that way.
Yeah. But, yeah, the joke was like the feud isn't even on sight. It's on sound. Like, I don't even want to hear this guy.
Yeah.
So... Yeah. Kong's like trying to be like, hey, like, I don't want to fight. Boom, punch straight in the face. Yeah. They're destroying the pyramids. They're fighting each other.
Godzilla's blasting.
They're doing suplexes, like crazy stuff. Yeah. And then Mothra comes in and is like, yo, chill.
Yeah, Godzilla's about to put the finisher on Kong. Like, Kong almost had Godzilla.
But Kong was holding back.
Yeah, Kong was holding back. But Godzilla was about to, like, just blast Kong in the face. He had his foot on his stomach and was like, you're about to get a face full of pink atomic breath. And Mothra blasts Godzilla with one of her energy blasts. Yeah. And she's like, yo, knock it off, I'm back.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla's like, oh shit, alright, I guess we're helping out now. So that's when the apes start to overtake the Iwi city to hit the portal. And Godzilla and Kong, they just burst through the Hollow Earth portal, as you see in the trailer. And they just, like, beeline. They're like, we're going straight into this fight. Like, they're like, we gotta help this. It's like, they were like Stone Cold arriving at the ECW and WCW, invading the
you have Scar King riding Shimu. Kong jumped on Godzilla's back. They're about to clash, and then boom.
Yes.
Gravity gives out.
Yes, that's what the Eevee were doing. They were able to control gravity with this whole moving the crystal thing.
So they have like a couple minutes of zero gravity fighting. Pretty cool. Like,
there's all these apes in the air. Zuko's there in the air. Kong's going around. Mothra is just webbing people up midair. So it's really just Godzilla and Kong mostly just fighting Shimo and Scar King, like, flying through the air. Really cool zero gravity fight. Zuko's just throwing rocks at different apes that are just loose trying to fight him.
Yeah. And they're, like, dropping off.
Yeah. And then Scar King, I think, realizes at one point, they're like, oh, I gotta get out of here. My window's closing. So Scar King heads to the surface first. And Shimo quickly follows behind. And then Godzilla... Kong follow right behind, but Kong leaves behind his axe, and Zuko's the only one left, and Mothra's down there with the other apes. They begin just fighting on the beach, and this is the all-out brawl that we see in the trailer. And this fight was surprisingly pretty quick, I thought. It was long, but it felt really fast.
It did feel very, very long.
Yeah.
It was a good, solid fight. Obviously, they defeat Scar King in the end. They free Shimu, and Yeah, I thought it was like
Yeah.
a mad dash to get the dagger.
Yeah, it was the dagger at the end of the thing. The crystal breaks off of the whip, and that's when Suko comes through the portal with Kong's axe and smashes it. And then once it gets smashed, you see Shimo's eyes they like clear. They're no longer white. It's not like it's almost like it was possessed, and it sees the Scar King. And it just blasts him, freezes him up, and it's like a Mortal Kombat fatality from Sub-Zero. Kong just shatters that thing, and there's Scar King bits everywhere. I mean, what a fatality. I mean, Scar King didn't even get close to being spared. He is just gone.
Yeah. Pretty sick final little thing, and you get like a very like minor epilogue where it's like, oh yeah, this goes back to normal. Jaya's staying with Dr. Andrews.
Bernie saved the world again.
Yeah, Bernie saved the world again. Don't really get too much of a Trapper epilogue at all. And then, you get to see that Kong returning back to, Scar King's lair with, the rest of the apes and, freeing them.
It's almost like it's almost like the Lion King, almost the way it ends. How, at the end, Simba's, there, and, his whole nation's beneath him. Kong arrives with Shimu, and he's got his axe, and he's just and that's it.
It's the end of the movie.
Well, the apes are
I didn't even think you get and Godzilla goes back to his dog bed.
Oh, yes, and Godzilla returns to Rome, and he goes to sleep in the Colosseum.
So I think that's just gonna be probably the long running joke of the series that's his favorite spot to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too much of an epilogue at the end.
It is
no post credit scene.
Yeah,
so it's kind of movie kind of just ends.
Yeah, the fight goes down and it just very abruptly ends.
They kind of just wrap everything up in a nice little 1 minute clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, what do we have to look forward next? I'm assuming it's going to be Monarch Season 2 is the next MonsterVerse piece that we have, unless they have a surprise for us somewhere. But, yeah, we'll see what happens next. I really enjoyed this movie, and, and I hope if you guys seen it, you enjoyed it too. I mean, the reception's been overall pretty positive from what I've seen. A lot of people had fun with it, and then you have the other group that just doesn't want to have fun. So I thought it was a great time, and I really hope to still see him keep going. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I want this to be Wingard's last movie." He's got an obsession with the ape, but he's clearly said the next movie is going to be Godzilla focused if he gets a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, and I just think there's more story to tell with Kong's character.
Oh, there's so much to tell with Kong's character.
And I feel like that needs to get wrapped up.
I mean, I get that they're intertwined now. The way they have the story, they're so intertwined. It's hard not to do a movie with them together. But I almost would love to see a follow up to Skull Island. I want to see just a Kong movie almost, or just a Godzilla movie. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard now to do just one of them. I feel like.
Well, I feel like doing just the Godzilla movie is easier because Kong is very human-like. It's very communicative. It understands when it needs help. I don't see Godzilla asking for help.
Yeah.
Godzilla's an alpha. If there's something on the surface level,
yeah,
Godzilla's going to take care of it.
Yeah. And I don't think Godzilla would take the stroll to Hollow Earth.
You might get a Mothra intervention, but I don't think,
Yeah. I feel like if you were to get a Godzilla-only movie, it's going to be all on the surface, no Hollow Earth, and that would be that. But Kong, if he needs help, he might go to the surface, because clearly he's done it before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the vibe I get.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if a Kong prequel movie that's like a Skull Island 2 before Skull Island fell. I think that's the only way we get a...
I think that's what we might get with Monarch Season 2, though.
Yeah, I think that's what Monarch Season 2 should be. I don't know. We shall see. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the cool things about the Hunted book is the Kong's main enemy is a character called Raymond Martin, or is it? Yeah, it's Raymond Martin.
It's supposed to be a Raymond Burr, like a Raymond Burr.
Yeah, it's a play on Raymond Burr's playing Steve Martin. They swapped first names and last names.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the movie. Like we said before, it was a great time. Can't wait to pick it up on Blu-ray. So far, the only official one that's been announced is the Walmart one. It was like $50 when it was first released. It's already dropped down to $35, which to me seems like the realistic price for it. I didn't pull the trigger yet on pre-ordering it. It's not going to sell out immediately just yet. I'll probably add it to the cart in the next couple of days to make sure.
There's two other ones that have been teased, but honestly, I like the way the Walmart one looks the best.
Yeah, and I think those two other ones are fake. Honestly, right now they said it's Amazon. They said Amazon and Walmart. So it's from we won't mention the name of it, but it's from a physical media page that's just tends to post false release information a lot.
Or stuff that's blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
And then claim that they have an inside source.
Yeah, so every now and then they get one right, but it's like if you throw it up. So I think the other two pictures that have been going around are fake. I don't think that they're real covers. Because it said, oh, this is the Amazon and Walmart covers. Well, why is there 3 different steelbooks?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. So maybe if you said Amazon, Walmart, and Target steelbooks, or Zavi steelbook or something. I don't know who else is doing steelbooks besides Walmart right now. I mean, I know Target's even pulled back on the physical game. FYE maybe, but yeah. Right now I think Walmart is going to be the one place to be picking this up as a steelbook. We do know that Groove, it could be a Groove exclusive, maybe one of those was a Groove steelbook.
But you think Groove would just post it?
Yeah, Groove would have just posted it. Groove did list a bunch of things. They have a 5-disc, 5-disc? 6-disc?
It's 5-disc.
Monster
I think it's just the 4Ks.
Yeah, it's all 4Ks.
Or just all Blu-rays.
Yeah, it's 4Ks and a special feature disc. Maybe it's 6-disc. I might be wrong. It might be 6-disc. But it's a 5-movie 6-disc collection. That's what it is. The 6th disc is all special features. You have 4K or a Blu-ray option. Pretty nice looking set.
I've seen some people being like, "Oh, this is AI art."
I haven't seen too many close-ups of it though, but it could. I
don't think it is. I just think that they just, you could say it's AI
so
art,
hard now. It's an unfortunate time.
I think that they just like, hey, this is just a product we're putting out. Just slap some stuff together. It seems like it's just assets that they already had. Same thing as the comic books. It's assets that they had, and they're just reusing it and throwing it on there. Yeah. And people are like, oh, it looks like they're like trying to point out stuff that's not there. They're like, oh, it barely looks like the Scar King. They probably just picked whatever assets they wanted.
Is there even a very clear
generic
picture
Hollywood?
Of it? Like I feel like all the pictures they have are like very zoomed. Like there's not like I haven't gone searching for it, but when it was first announced, like it was very hard to find like a clear picture of it. Like it's very zoomed out. Like there's no high quality pictures that I've seen yet. Where it's
and I feel like not for nothing, but to be calling out Warner Brothers like that. Meanwhile, for this movie, they've hired a large amount of artists to do work for this movie.
I mean, like
a lot of people from the community have worked and done art for this project.
Yeah.
And they haven't been shy about tagging them either.
Yeah.
So, did they just hire an intern to be like, hey, throw together some packaging for this 5-disc set that we're going to be blowing out for $100?
Yeah.
Like...
they definitely did hire some artists. I mean, I know that Godzilla mural that they show with like all the Easter eggs was done by C Guns. Who's done all the cavity colors pins, and he did the on-set T-shirts that they wore. He did the art for that. Yeah.
Like, they haven't been shy about it.
Yeah.
Like, they've been hiring artists from the community.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing was the artist that did a lot of the Godzilla designs, he actually didn't, like the monster designs for the movie, he didn't get invited to any of the premieres, unfortunately.
That's
which
crazy.
is pretty sad. I mean, but
apparently that is common, though.
They are
for artists.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if like this dude on the Heave designer. I doubt he got invited if the monster artist didn't get and designer didn't get invited. But there's some great artists behind this. I mean, the merch is great. I mean, love it.
Yeah.
You can pick this up. This is one of the few things left on the Regal store that you could get. They had some other cups that are actually shaped like the Scar King or Godzilla, Kong. Cinemark still has their bucket available. I'm waiting for that to come in. And, T-shirts are out there. Hit the merch. I mean, have fun with it. And I'm sure there's another wave coming. Like I said earlier today, the toys finally made the Target flyer. I mean, they've been out forever. But the Godzilla Evolved figures there and the Godzilla roaring mask. We're in a great time here.
Glove.
Yeah.
The RC
Godzilla
with the mist.
I am surprised they did not make a Beast Glove toy, like a Hulk.
Yeah, I thought that would have been like a...
That's like a no-brainer toy there. How have they not made that?
And it's just a big piece of foam. It would have been really easy to do.
Or if they did it as like a plastic thing attached to... I don't know. We'll see. You never know. They might do it.
All right. Well...
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching. If you guys stuck around for this long. I think this is like our longest podcast ever. Almost 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So, we had fun. I hope you guys enjoy this movie. Let us know what you guys think about it down below. And, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.